And so we're about ready to go. Opening face-off is set. As for Team USA, it's Connor Calderon, the current freshman at the University of Maryland, getting the start, taking on this Team Premier squad, which is an interesting team, kind of brought together of elite club programs from some players in Texas. We've got some players from the Edge Lacrosse program north of the border. It's a collection of some really highly touted recruits that we're going to get a chance to see today against the U.S. squad.
I had an opportunity to catch up a little bit last night with their coaches, Chris Delfaus and Jordan Regari, and they were talking about how this Team Premier is something that's a little bit of a new undertaking, a consortium of sorts of 8 different clubs from around North America. They'd like to play together some more, put together some all-star teams, but also host events where those teams can compete against each other, like not entirely unlike the National Lacrosse Federation.
So the U.S. wins the opening face-off, a chance to see this offense for the first time today. On the far side, it's one of the Mitchell twins. This is Connor, and he goes low for the score. A couple of Mitchells on this team. Connor gets the score, and it's 1-0 U.S.
No time like the present to make an impact. And for this U.S. team, the emphasis has been, how do you start in these games? So critical with the international rules to get off to a good start, and that's just what they do here. Mitchell, just too big of a force. Both Mitchell twins, 6'2", 215, really physically imposing presence, but also very consistent players out of the midfield.
Right off the bat, though, Team Premier wins a face-off. That one, Chase Mullins, who a couple of years ago won the Face-Off Academy National Showcase put on by Greg Gorenlian in the Face-Off Academy, a guy in the class of 2021 who's committed to Maryland. So a good combination of face-off guys that Team Premier rolls out there, and they get an offensive set here down 1-0.
And I mentioned the importance of a good start, if only because we're playing 15-minute running quarters. That is not a lot of time. It's down, the international rules changed from 20-minute running quarters, so essentially a full quarter of the game has been cut down. And so you don't have as much time as you would to be able to find that rhythm and maybe even come back from a deficit, as Team USA had to do last time out in British Columbia.
You got a turnover, and U.S. is coming the other way. Chance to go in transition here. But it's lost there by Patrick Hackler, one of the short stick D-middies on this team. It comes out, a great opportunity for Patrick Cavanaugh, but he's stripped from behind. Loose ball at X behind the Team Premier cage. Good physical play there by Alex Slusher, the attackman for the U.S. But Team Premier wins the ground ball. Long outless pass is errant. These ground ball battles are one of the places you'll see Coach Nick Myers for this U.S. U19 team really pay attention. Who does some of the extra little things, wins those 50-50 ground balls when you need them the most? Those are the type of guys you want to head over to Ireland for the World Championships.
Yeah, and who's willing to be physical? Who's going to take the body, take out the man, and be that selfless, and to allow their teammate to come up with the ball in those man ball situations. Great job there. That's a team ground ball there from the U.S. They get the possession. Now they play 6-on-6 in the box.
Alex Slusher in there. Part of this attack unit, joined by Patrick Cavanaugh. He works at X. Younger brother of Matt and Brendan Cavanaugh. Patrick headed to Notre Dame. This is Brendan O'Neill, top recruit in the class of 2020, but his pass is knocked down, eventually scooped up. Now Cole Kirst, current sophomore at Lehigh. Cavanaugh, and his pass is knocked down, but Cavanaugh able to get it back.
You see Kirst, number 2 in white, running out of the midfield. Now he's back behind on attack. That versatility is another great asset to have in this international setting.
Kirst was the only player with college experience entering this tryout process. Streaking down the alley is Graham Bundy Jr. His bounce shot is wide. Back up one by Team USA. Good hustle there by Cavanaugh to keep possession. Moved along. Bundy rips one. It's wide.
These Kavanaugh kids, man, they're just like carbon copies of each other. You know, see Pat very comfortable operating behind the goal. Obviously has that hustle factor. Looks a lot like his older brother Matt, who we'll get a chance to see this afternoon with the U.S. men's senior team.
Kavanaugh somehow got that shot off. I'm not sure how. O'Neal there for the backup. Nice long offensive set for Team USA. O'Neal uses the body, shoots wide. Brennan O'Neal, just still a high school senior at St. Anthony's in New York, headed to Duke to play for John Danowski.
And you get a sense he's still trying to find himself in this setting, what his role should be particularly, how ball dominant he should be, what can he do off the ball. Obviously, he's talked about as being very coachable and very open to whatever Coach Myers has to offer.
Slusher on the run, and he finds the back of the net. The Oregon kid makes it 2-zip.
Nice, patient offensive set for the U.S. team. Couple of good looks on Cage. They're able to wear down Team Premier. And it's Slusher with that little hesitation. He gets his defender off balance and is able to get between the hashes, has the entire goal to shoot at. Great job coming across his body, finishing in the lower third.
Alex Slusher coming out of Portland, Oregon, current freshman at Princeton. Just the third player in Oregon history to score 200 career goals in high school. One of the other ones, Sam Hanley, who's ended up pretty well at the University of Pennsylvania, an All-American as a freshman last year.
And Slusher, someone Coach Nick Myers speaks of highly just in terms of his consistency and his willingness to do whatever is asked of him, and also just making smart decisions with the ball in his stick.
Got a whistle against Team Premier that gives it back to the United States. Quickly, it's Hackler. Excuse me, that was Logan Santos. Santos back in the lineup after being hurt this summer, but really impressed evaluators back in the initial evaluation period. They wanted to keep him around, see if he can earn a spot as one of the short stick defensive midfielders on this team.
And that so-called dogs group that Coach Myers is looking for, you see Santos, Montfort, and Hackler all in that mix. Such a critical position for the U.S. team and playing internationally.
Herbert forces one in there for Slusher. Kavanaugh trying to win this ground ball. Somehow he does. You mentioned the Kavanaughs, and all of them, that you see those ground ball wins from just about every Kavanaugh brother that we've seen play at this level.
Yeah, you know, Matt Kavanaugh, you think of his college career, you think about that game-winning goal against Albany in the NCAA quarterfinals. But what some forget is the play that set that up, that great end-line scrum for a ground ball. That's how he was able to put himself in a position to win that game, put his team in a position to win that game, and they certainly pride themselves on that element.
That shot wide from Connor Mitchell, but it's backed up and kept by Team USA. Cole Herbert triggers things in once again. Connor and Grant Mitchell, twins, both now playing at Ohio State, both in their freshman year there with the Buckeyes. As Brennan O'Neal wraps around, squeezes one, top shelf. Impressive, tough angle goal for Brennan O'Neal.
This guy is a matchup nightmare with his size, but also his incredible hands. He's really someone that you can't play one way or another. It's not like you can divide the field in half and just, you know, hope for the best. He's someone who's just so lethal around the crease no matter which way he's going.
Face-off win there for Jake Nasso. Current high school senior committed to Virginia, but he turns it over. And it gives it to a Team Premier who's still looking to get on the scoreboard for the first time today.
An incredibly difficult challenge today for this Team Premier squad. We talked about some guys that certainly have some talent, some high caliber players headed to Division I programs. But I'm watching these guys last night, and they're introducing themselves to each other, asking where you're from, who do you play for. This is a difficult task against a U.S. team that now has its sea legs under it.
Chance to go in transition. The shot goes for Jackson Bonnets. Standout football player showing the athleticism, and he makes it 4-0.
Really terrific awareness off of the restart. International game, they have those quick restarts. And it's Bonnets with a heads-up play, streaking down the middle of the field, keeping that long pole in a place where you can receive the ball. And Team Premier just a little late to get organized on defense. He rips it, and it goes.
Bonnets, a player who actually missed the weekend in Columbus, Ohio back in November because he was still playing football in Maryland. High school senior is committed to the Naval Academy.
Coach Myers calls him a thumper. 6'3", 200 pounds. He's someone who matched up really well with Brennan O'Neill in tryouts. Seemed like he was really up for that encounter, and that's something that impressed the coaches.
Got our first save of the day as the U.S. looks to clear.
Previous USA goal scored by number 8, Jackson Bonnets, assisted by number 4, Patrick.
And the U.S. brings it over midfield. Logan Santos once again. When you look at this U.S. roster, we were talking to head coach Nick Myers about, all right, how do you whittle this down from 26 to 23? Well, you got 7 defensemen here this weekend. They're only going to take 6, so one of the cuts comes there. You've got 3 face-off guys still around. They're only going to take 2, so there's 1. And then there's one other guy somewhere, whether it's attack, midfield, somebody else is not going to make that trip to Ireland. So that's really where you're going to look at the 3 players coming out of this weekend that may not make the trip to Limerick.
And these coaches are going to let it play out through the spring season, though. However, I wouldn't expect any imminent cuts after this particular weekend. They're down to 26, as you mentioned. 23 is what that final roster will be. So why not get a look at what these guys are doing with their college teams? Who knows who's going to go off, or even the high school guys. Injuries come into play, things of that nature. You hope not, but at this point, they're actually pretty relieved to not have to make any selections, not be in evaluation mode, and treat this as the team.
All the way in, Team Premier with a score. Great individual effort from Hugh Kelleher. The Cornell commit gets Premier on the board.
Phenomenal individual play by Kelleher. Team USA is not going to be thrilled with that miscommunication on defense, coming down in transition. Fairly disorganized, and Kelleher takes advantage.
Cuts it to a 4-1 game as Nassau is back out there for the face-off. Guy who plays with Brennan O'Neill at St. Anthony's. He's headed to Virginia next year. Face-off win, though, for Team Premier, but a turnover caused by the U.S. and back come the United States. Slusher across, looking to push. Tic-tac-toe and a finish on the doorstep. Lance Tillman, the freshman in North Carolina, answers for Team USA.
And that's exactly how you want to see that defense respond with the takeaway on one end, coming down in transition. You see it's Ryan Schreiber, good heads-up play to find Tillman on the doorstep. And within a matter of less than 1 minute, U.S. is back up by 4 goals.
Tillman, hailing from Colorado, actually played for John Grant Jr.'s Valor Christian team when Jr. was still coaching in high school before he took the assistant coaching job at Air Force last year. John Grant Jr. will be smiling at that one, as long as it's not against Team Canada. Junior has his own allegiances there.
Yeah, certainly a protege of John Grant Jr. you expect to be capable, very capable around the goal. Tillman, a little bit more of a ball carrier, so it's as far as someone who can really turn the corner with authority with the ball behind the goal, but they're showing he can do it off ball as a finisher as well, and that might be a role that suits him better in this setting.
And here's Tillman at X, working again, looking for some space instead. Tosses it back out to Mitchell, and now around the top of the box to Cole Herbert. Herbert, another one of those players on this team that's a good football player, 3-star wide receiver recruit coming out of Calvert Hall as that shot sails high. Tillman triggering from the end line, tough angle, looks like it hit a part of the cage of the goalie. Mitchell picks it up, shot wide, and Tillman there for the backup. And that will bring us to the end of quarter number 1. So far, so good for the US U19 team. They've got a 5-1 lead over Team Premier here at the US Lacrosse Spring Premiere on LAC Sports Network.
They're not playing under that kind of pressure this weekend. They're able to develop some chemistry, do some team building, and learn to trust one another with the ball in their stick, the ball, playing off ball, and just forming more cohesion between the lines.
Alex Stathakis wins the opening draw on a violation for Team Premier, so it gives it back to the U.S. as they now work on the right side of field to start this second quarter. Coming out of the box, it's Herbert! A little sidearm fling and another goal to start the second for Team USA.
Cole Herbert flashing that athleticism we've heard so much about. You mentioned a two-sport athlete, a football stud at Calvert Hall. Out in Columbus for the U19 training weekend. He was really just coming off his football season, really had not yet had his lacrosse legs under him. He's one guy, again, that Coach Myers was looking forward to seeing this weekend, more being in lacrosse mode. And certainly he's another guy who can just win his matchup one-on-one out of the midfield, force defenses to get unsettled, finish it himself, or keep it moving the other way. There, he earns a goal for himself. 6-1 lead for Team USA.
Another face-off win here for the U.S. if they can track down the ground ball. Big hit around midfield, but it ends up in the stick of Team Premier, scooped up by Trevor Bollinger, a Cornell commit. But a whistle gives it back to the United States. And Hackler triggers things in once again. Quickly moved along, bounce shot goes. Hackler getting into the scoring acts. Current freshman at Yale makes it 7-1.
And you could tell that momentum from the first quarter really carrying over here in the second for Team USA. The transition game has been what's worked for them, and there it's Hackler. Profiles as a short stick D midi in this setting, but let's not forget he had 34 goals, 45 assists his senior year at Skaneateles. Also a two-time All-League football quarterback. State record 53 touchdown passes as a senior. So he's not a one-trick pony by any stretch. So again, someone whose versatility really is attractive to this US U19 coaching staff.
And Coach Nick Myers talked about Patrick Hackler and Jack Monfort, both short stick defensive midfielders on this US U19 team, both freshmen at Yale, talking about the job that Yale program does, especially with that position. We saw Tyler Warner, who we're going to see actually later today with U.S. national team program, what he did for the Yale team over his 4 years. Expecting them to continue to get bigger, stronger, faster with that Yale Bulldogs team.
Mark Lassini, another stud, short stick coming out of the Yale program. So yeah, they churn him out there, no question.
Offensive set here for Team Premier. It's Carson Bird, hailing from Cypress, Texas, class of 2021. Just a physical play by Ryan Schreiber and causes a turnover. Michigan's coaching staff going to like to see that. Current freshman there with the Wolverines.
probably the best one-on-one cover defenseman in this U.S. U19 group.
O'Neal all the way in, dives, and the goal counts. Second goal of the day for Brennan O'Neal.
The big fella once more. This time doing it from the wing. You see him shade a little bit upfield with the ball with the stick in his left hand. And again, he also has that change of direction, goes to his right, sees an opening, takes it, finishes with the dive, and well done.
Anybody who's followed the sport of lacrosse and recruiting over the last several years knows that name, Brennan O'Neal. But I thought it was interesting in talking with Nick Myers about him, about the coaching staff making him realize, look, you're going to have a big role in this team, but don't put any extra pressure on yourself that's unneeded. Just play within yourself. We've got plenty of other great, talented pieces, and just play your game.
Yeah, and that's something that you could say for a lot of these players who are used to being the go-to player for their particular high school teams, you know, trying to find themselves within more of the team concept. It's not easy to do. And as we mentioned, Brennan O'Neal still in high school, still doing what he does there. What does he look like as a Team USA player? I don't know that they've found that yet, but certainly here today, he's seizing his opportunities, seeing his openings and taking them, but not trying to do too much that's low percentage or anything of that nature.
Under 10 minutes to go in this second quarter. Remember, 15-minute running time quarters here in the international game. A recent rule change, taking that time down per quarter from 20 to 15, which will be interesting as we get into the World Championship season, seeing how that affects the play of these teams. O'Neal again. Pass came all the way through a crowded bunch of traffic there in front, and O'Neal with a hat trick in this first half.
And how about Tillman here, doing it as a feeder? Number 11, ball with the stick in his left hand, draws the slide, draws the attention of the defense. They leave O'Neal open up top. Nice time and room finish, and Team USA is just rolling at this point.
Back to Jake Nasso at the face-off X. We mentioned taking the 3 face-off guys down to 2. It'll be interesting to watch these guys battle throughout the weekend, and then especially for a guy like Calderon and Stathakis, who are freshmen in college, how the college season treats them and what kind of opportunities they get at their respective programs.
Yeah, and Nasso and Calderon are a little bit of, you know, mirror images of each other, whereas Stathakis brings a different kind of physicality to the position. You know, he's been banged up, had shoulder surgery over the summer, didn't compete with Denver in the fall, just got cleared. So I don't expect to see a ton of reps out of him today, but he's also a proven commodity, won 85% of his faceoffs at Culver. So, you know, if I'm looking at this as an evaluator, looking at 3 to come down to 2, you know, maybe I like the yin and yang of Stathakis and then one of the other guys.
Number 19 in white, Brendan Grimes, into the game here as he kicks it out to Mitchell. Tough shot from Tillman wide. Mentioned Grimes at the top. Coach Myers calling him one of the standout midfielders of that weekend in Columbus, Ohio back in November.
It's interesting to see so many 2020 graduates still in this mix. Guys that still have a season of high school left to play.
Step down shot off the post for Herbert. The backup all the way out by the 40-yard line, won by Team USA, and Alex Slusher will trigger things in.
We've seen Herbert. We've seen, you know, Brennan O'Neal. You talk about Grimes, Jackson Bonnets. These guys are all studs, and yet they don't have that exposure to the college training. It doesn't seem to have affected their ability to hang at this level.
This is Grimes. Now Mitchell trying to use that big body of his, but he's beat up by Bollinger. Now Slusher on the far wing. Herbert sends it behind. Good long possession. Mitchell off the skip pass, and he cashes in. A second for Connor Mitchell.
couple of Calvert Hall guys hooking up here, with Cole Herbert doing it behind the goal. Again, someone who has that versatility, can play up top, can play behind. And I'm sorry, it looks like that was Pat Cavanaugh, number 4, with the assist behind the goal. A little tricky with some New Jersey numbers from these guys from what we're used to experiencing. But again, great team offense from the U.S. Unselfish play, skip feed over the top.
You mentioned the Mitchells from Calvert Hall. As we've got a face-off win here for Nassau. Going quickly the other way. Shot is stopped. Nice save by Matthew Nunes. Class of 2021 guy who's committed to the University of Virginia. One of the top-ranked recruits in that class of 2021. So U.S. shooting against a talented goalie here so far today. But you mentioned the Mitchell twins. They come from Calvert Hall. However, originally started their high school careers just outside Atlanta, Georgia. So part of some different parts of the country that have contributed to this US U19 roster that we see here today.
Yeah, it's a pretty wide swath in terms of the representation geographically. Coach Nick Meyer said when we talked to him earlier this week, he's like, look, that's not intentional. It speaks to the growth of the game. He wants the best players, no matter where they're from, the guys who are going to put him in a position to win a world championship. But the fact that you see guys like Alex Slusher from Oregon, talked about Stathakis earlier, he's a Michigan product. You know, a couple guys from Carolina, Georgia, Lance Tillman from Colorado, good representation.
That was a great takeaway by Spalding Hall, but a turnover as it comes into the crease of Liam Entenmann. Current freshman at Notre Dame looks to clear. Kept in along the sideline there by Mitchell, and Slusher quickly the other way. Good hustle play by Team USA to get possession.
That's one of those unseens that'll come up in game film when the guys are breaking this down later. That will be applauded.
And now things settle down with Tillman working from X. We've seen Tillman and Patrick Cavanaugh both seeing a lot of time working kind of as that X attackman so far today. Step down, shot, it goes. I believe that's Grant Mitchell. Another Mitchell scoring. 3 goals for them, and it's 10-1 Team USA.
And this time showing some range. This one from about 12 yards out with the left hand. Steps into a space where he can shoot. Doesn't try to do too much with it. Just a nice bounce shot off side, off stick side, and that's tough for any goalie to contend with, Nunes included.
Face-off win quickly for Team Premier. Shot kind of ate up Entenmann, but it's wide. Back up there for Luke Pilcher. Pilcher, an RIT commit. Actually the brother of current New York Riptide player Dan McRae in the NLL. Pilcher from Oakville, Ontario. Big physical play there by Hackler. Exactly what the U.S. would like to see out of these short stick D middies, and now Hackler ends up with it. Feed to Slusher. Gets into the middle, hands free, and another one goes. Second goal of the afternoon for Alex Slusher.
And that's a Hackler play from one end to the other. You mentioned the big physical body check on one end. He's got a great cross check, and then he carries it up the field, draws the attention of the defense, and finds Slusher in the slot. He's able to finish it, make it a 12-1 ball game.
There is Stathakis at the face-off X, wins it to himself, and now to bring it into the offensive end for the U.S. Guy who we may see take face-offs for the Pioneers this year out at Denver, Coach Bill Tierney.
Yeah, he's seemingly college ready. You know, there's nothing to indicate otherwise, and he's drawing the Trevor Baptiste comparisons, which It's pretty heady territory for any freshman to be
It's
hearing
tough
that
to be as good as Trevor Baptiste was in college.
at the University of Denver, but he's saying all the right things, saying he's got to prove himself. You know, he's appreciative of the accolades, but he's also someone whose work ethic is unquestioned. And so, you know, there's no question at this point that he will put his head down as if he's got everything to earn.
Under a minute to go in this first half. The U.S. content to settle and try to get one more good look at this thing. It's Brendan Grimes, current senior at Boys Latin, headed to Hopkins, works here about the 35-yard line.
And another 2020. I mean, that class is just so unbelievably stacked. He's ranked number 2 in that class, right behind Brennan O'Neill.
Grimes feeds down on the crease, couldn't be caught there by Kavanaugh. Loose ball scooped up. Nice pickup here by Team Premier. And that brings us to the end of the first half. The U.S. putting on a bit of an offensive show so far. Got a 12-1 lead over Team Premier. The U.S. U19 team get ready for the World Championships in Ireland. We'll be back here at the half. U.S. Lacrosse Spring Premier. It's so hard in the tryout process when you got 60 guys and you're trying to stand out to be a team member, because you obviously are trying to make that team and be part of the squad. Now a chance for these guys really to bond together and be part of that team.
Hey, you know, it's funny just watching the teams practice yesterday, both the U19 and the senior teams. I'd say the senior squad showed maybe more nerves in that setting than the U19, because that process starts now, looking forward to 2 years from now. And of course, we're going to get a good look at the senior men later this afternoon against Japan. As far as these U19 men are concerned, you know, they've made it. You know, we mentioned there's a couple more cuts coming, 26 down to 23 indeed, but that's not going to come until this summer. So a little bit more relaxed this weekend, and that shows they're playing pretty poised here in this game.
Some sloppy passing there, a turnover early in the third quarter, gives it back to Team Premier. Good individual effort to cause a turnover, and it's Patrick Kavanaugh who brings it back into the box for the U.S. Once again, Kavanaugh, a guy like we've seen with his brothers, especially Matt, does a lot of those little things. The extra hustle on a ride, almost like a Marcus Holman or Will Manny that we'll see later with the men's national team. Those little things make such a big difference, especially in the slow international game with how important possessions are with no shot clock.
And of course, his brother Matt could speak to the value of the U19 experience as being something to prime you for your college careers in an international setting.
Mitchell stripped away, and it ends up in the crease here for Team Premier, and they're going the other way.
Matt Kavanaugh, of course, was the MVP of that 2012 U19 team that won a gold medal in Finland.
Shot kicked away by Jared Paquette. His first action here in the third quarter for Team USA. New goalie. Nice stop and a ground ball won by the United States. It's Mitchell who goes end to end. And that's something that Myers will ask a lot of these midfielders is, hey, can you play offense, but also can you play defense? Mitchell doing a little two-way action right now.
And same thing for the attackmen. You can play attack, but can you play midfield? So with only 23 roster spots and 4 of those presumably absorbed by face-off specialists and goalies, then you know you're dealing with a limited capacity to have those specialist type players, and you need guys that can do it in different elements of the game.
U.S. settling things down after some sloppiness at their own end. They're able to preserve possession. This is Kavanaugh working from X. Mitchell's in there along with Graham Bundy Jr. Now Brendan O'Neill. Kavanaugh's got his man hung up. Slusher looking to get the hands free. Moves along. Bundy. Tough pass, and Slusher has to kind of just settle things down out by the 30-yard line.
This Team Premier defense, they really have their hands full in this game. Having, again, not played together before. Probably a very simple set. Slide from the crease. You know, maybe adjacent on occasion, but those, you know, you're not going to have that slide and recovery package set.
Kavanaugh beats his man, and he goes low for the score. Wrapping around. U.S. on the board here in the third.
And that's the second time on this possession that Kavanaugh had his man hung up. See number 11, Elliot Ish, has to commit one way. Kavanaugh goes the other. The slide isn't there, and he's able to put it in the back of the net.
Kavanaugh now with a goal to go along with an assist from the first half. A couple of points for him. As Connor Calderon goes to the face-off X. Now a freshman at Maryland. Continues to get some strong face-off recruits. Quick transition opportunity, shot wide. Logan Santos looking to get some offense.
Another nice run there for the long pole, number 8, Jackson Bonnets. Creating that opportunity with the ground ball off the face-off. He's someone that also has been impressive today so far.
As we mentioned, the first half committed to Navy. Current senior at McDonough. Moved along, Slusher has his stick taken away. But the whistle will keep it with Team USA. Great takeaway there by Spalding Hall. He's committed to High Point. He's had a couple of those. Long stick midfielder for this Team Premier squad.
Yeah, Hall, someone who competes for the Annapolis Hawks club team in Maryland. He's from Richmond. Nice play there. He tried to get away with goosing the stick away, and then refs caught it on a procedure, so USA ball. But he's looked good today.
Kavanaugh has his shot saved. Rebound. Another stop. Robert Wheat is checked in there in the crease for Team Premier, and he's got back-to-back saves here in the third.
A couple really nice saves there for the local product. Robert Wheat competes for the Iron Horse club team up in Austin, about an hour and a half from here. Headed to play at Division II Queens in North Carolina.
Good takeaway here on the ride. Transition chance. Kavanaugh going showtime, but it's stopped by Wheat. One-handed between the legs. It's been a while since I've seen that shot attempt.
Wow, that would have been something else. And you know what? That he probably didn't have much of a choice with it, right? Because that
had to go up and
really
catch
high,
it.
To go up and get it. Really only one way to bring it down low, and man, he almost converted.
Instead, it ends up in a Team Premier offensive chance. Luke Kelleher on that far wing, number 5 in navy blue, has the only goal for Team Premier this afternoon. Pass a little errant as it goes toward the top of the box. Good hustle play. Graham Bundy, another one of those two-way midfielders, creating a turnover and a chance here for the U.S. Slusher has his pass deflected as he was looking for Kavanaugh. O'Neal, what stick skills, but another stop by Wheat. Kid's unconscious in the crease.
Robert Wheat, what an opportunity for a kid here out of Texas playing against this caliber of competition.
O'Neal, one hand pass, another stop by Robert Wheat. Holy cow.
How about this kid? See some good sportsmanship there as well. Making sure Alex Slusher of Team USA is okay, but he's had 3 on O'Neal alone in this quarter.
And we got a timeout for Team Premier with about 7 minutes to go in this third quarter.
And I feel like the message here is, let's give our defense a break, guys. Let's have a nice settled possession. This is an international game. You know, you haven't seen much of a settled set out of Team Premier so far, but Robert Wheat has been absolutely incredible here in the third quarter. Definitely a bright spot for Team Premier.
comes in, did not play the first half, so he's coming in cold off the bench, chance to warm up at halftime, and he is just seeing the ball really well. Dialed in. Robert Wheat, committed to Division II Queens. He's a goalie in the class of 2020. Impressive stuff for him so far against this U.S. men's national team, who's only been able to score 1 goal so far in this third quarter.
And that's there is his club coach, Chris Delfaus, running this Team Premier team today. Coaches Wheat with the Iron Horse Club up in Austin, and he's certainly someone who had the unenviable task of getting this team organized and ready to play Team USA. And so far here in the third quarter, a nice showing by his young goalie.
Chance to remind you, LaxCon 2020 coming to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, January 10th to the 12th. It's just next weekend. LaxCon provided a great opportunity to learn from the best, including among this year's featured speakers, 2 national championship head coaches for the 2019 season, in Kathy Reese of Maryland and Lars Tiffany of Virginia. Remember, register before January 8th. Save $20. No promo code is needed. For more information, go to uslacrosse.org. LaxCon 2020, Philadelphia, January 10th to the 12th. Next weekend, FanFest, a great opportunity to see all of the great players from U.S. men's national team as well. A lot of them will be in attendance next weekend in Philadelphia. Going to be a lot of fun. Back underway here, coming out of the timeout. Team Premier wrapping near side. Another stop by Paquette. Both goalies with some stops here to start the third quarter.
Some nice burst there out of the Team Premier attackman, Bryce Walker, another Iron Horse kid, committed to Notre Dame.
Tillman going high, and Wheat sees that one as well. Robert Wheat has certainly been up to the challenge against this talented US U19 offense. Stop Tillman, O'Neill, Slusher, Kavanaugh. Not many players on this US U19 team been able to figure him out so far. O'Neill and Herbert and Brendan Grimes at the top of the box. Now around at X to Tillman and Slusher. Herbert. Now Slusher dancing. Kicks it over to Mitchell. He's got a couple of goals this afternoon, and he can't solve Wheat. Chance to create a turnover here in the ride. Wheat well out of his cage. Tillman chasing after him. Able to come up with the ground ball and get it over to Spalding Hall to try to clear it for Team Premier.
This kid is playing out of his mind. Number 24 in blue, Robert Wheat. Certainly making an impression here today. Got to think the coaches on the opposing sideline there for Team USA wondering who is this kid and how can we get him?
Yeah.
If not in this U.S. setting, then perhaps with their college teams. Really impressive so far here in this third quarter.
Queens is a strong Division II program in North Carolina, and I'm going to be really happy to see this. Down the alley. Team Premier now working from X. It's Carson Bird. Excuse me, that was Bryce Walker. Good move and a score. Ollie Lavelle, the Air Force commit out of Austin, Texas, getting Team Premier back on the board.
And Lavelle does a really nice job here of getting the defense to commit on his shot fake. See him settle, looks like he's gonna take some time and room. Instead, he tucks it in, brings it across his body, outside and in, and the nice overhand finish. Good individual play. Nice little set there for Team Premier.
good battle here at the face-off X. Won by Connor Calderon, and Team USA gets the offensive chance back, and another chance to try to solve Robert Wheat. Goalie for Team Premier came into the third quarter and has been red hot as we tick under 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, so far just one goal for the U.S. in this third quarter after scoring 12 through the first half. So nice job by the goalie slowing down this juggernaut, making the U.S. shooters think once or twice about where they're going to put the ball, and they haven't been able to solve them yet.
This is Brendan Grimes, the midfielder, all the way around at X. Gets it to Patrick Cavanaugh as Team Premier looks to press out a little bit. Mitchell dances around. Now Tillman. Mitchell goes up high and finally finds the back of the net once more. Second goal of the afternoon for Grant Mitchell. The Mitchell twins with a 4-pack so far today.
We saw it earlier from Connor Mitchell, the lefty. Now it's Grant Mitchell, the righty, sweeping outside the hash marks and with a nice, strong finish. Little three-quarter angle, and finally, Team USA is able to put one past Robert Wheat.
Mitchell twins, both Ohio State freshmen, playing for Nick Myers there for the Buckeyes as well. Face-off win here for Team Premier, looking to answer. Paquette with the save. Tough rebound, but the ground ball won by the United States. That's Ryan Schreiber again, who's really impressed at the defensive end so far.
Yeah, and the coaching staff likes the chemistry they're getting on defense with Ryan Schreiber, Jacob Snyder, Quentin Matsui. Those three really seem to have formed a nice core down there, operate well together. We mentioned that they have their goalie set now in Entenmann and Paquette, so the defensive side of the field coming together a little bit, maybe even faster than they would have expected in this process.
And Quentin Matsui, a guy for Virginia that very well may be a starter right away for the defending national champs on the defensive end. Skip pass back out top to Grimes. Dodges through, shot wide, but backed up by Cavanaugh.
We talked about the complementary parts, right? So Schreiber being their best cover one-on-one guy. Snyder being very vocal, someone who could be with good communication off the ball. And Matsui a little bit of hybrid of both. So those complementary skill sets are another thing. That's where you get at this point in the process as the U.S. coaching staff. You have identified the guys who fit what you want to do. Now how do they fit together? 14
seconds to go here in the quarter. Cavanaugh under 10 now. Wraps near side and cashes in. Patrick Cavanaugh's second goal of the afternoon. Team USA closing out the third with a couple in a row.
Really good clock awareness here by Cavanaugh too. Not to go too soon. You saw USA kind of content to settle for that last shot. They spun it around the perimeter, got it to X. And Cavanaugh, very impressive here. Probably the purest QB type among these U.S. attackmen. The type who can be a threat both to score, as we saw there, or to feed, as we've seen earlier. So he's a nice player there behind the goal.
Win there at the face-off by Team Premier, but it brings us to the end of the third quarter. US U19 team with 3 goals in the third, but how about the play by Robert Wheat, Team Premier goalie, standing on his head, looking to keep the U.S. at bay. Be back here with the fourth quarter, U.S. Lacrosse Spring Premiere here on LSN.
There's talent to be had all over this country, talent to be developed, and a passion to be harbored for this sport, and you're seeing it from coast to coast.
You continue to see it in the college game with coaches going all over the map to find top recruits now who continue to make major impacts at the collegiate level. Got a good face-off battle here.
One name you didn't see on that list was Logan Santos, the short stick who competes in high school at St. Paul's, or did so. He's now at Ohio State, or he's headed to Ohio State next season. But he's originally from North Carolina as well. So some of these guys, they will move to improve their game, maybe see some better competition. The Mitchell twins come to mind there. They've competed at Calvert Hall, but again, the roots are strong all over the country.
Good ground ball win by O'Neal. Moved up ahead to Kavanaugh, and he settles things down for the U.S. offense. Once again, little things in the offensive end, like that Brendan O'Neal ground ball off a face-off scrum. Those little things become really important when you get into the medal round of the World Championships this summer. We saw what possessions meant at the end of that U.S.-Canada game back in 2016, the last time the United States U19 team won gold. O'Neal moves it along. Shot wide there from Kavanaugh.
When it comes down to USA-Canada, every possession is its own beast, an anxiety bomb. And you want guys who can both take care of the ball, but win it back for you. Save your bacon on occasion and be able to just keep the ball in the box, wear down a defense.
O'Neal, a step down shot, and he finds some space inside the post. 4 goals for the Duke commit.
We've had a look at about everything that Brendan O'Neal has in his arsenal today. Here doing it from up top, stretch shooter. Good job by the U.S. offense there, drawing the slide, pushing it up top. The assist there by Graham Bundy Jr. And that was a nice little invert set there. Bundy operating down low, O'Neal up top, and they can take advantage of O'Neal's capabilities as a long-range shooter. I mean, there's nothing the kid can't do.
No, his versatility is really, really impressive. Still just a high school senior. And you mentioned it. We've seen him go working tough angle. We've seen him work goal line extended off the wing. We've seen him work from X. He can do a little bit of everything, and probably makes it sometimes difficult for the coach to figure out, what position do you put him in, or you just kind of keep moving him around. Got a yard sale. Team Premier creates the turnover and looks to get possession here.
You know, and you combine that skill set with the pedigree of a high school program like St. Anthony's, which has more than its share of representation here today, both with the U19 team and the senior team. They could have a reunion, basically, here in San Antonio of just St. Anthony's guys.
First flag as the U.S. team will go man up for the first time this afternoon. Slashing call, minute penalty coming for the U.S. Under 12 minutes to go in this game. U.S. Team USA up a man. It's Brendan O'Neal, Grimes, Slusher, all in there. They're joined by Cole Herbert and Lance Tillman working down their goal line extended. Chance to get some specialist work for the U.S. U19 team. Step down shot, saved by Wheat. Good stop there for Team Premier on the man down. Now they'll look to try the run. Try to run the rest of this penalty off.
That's usually the last piece of the puzzle, right? Is getting your man up, your man down installed, your special teams. Limited opportunities for these guys to practice together. And so maybe a bit of a settle there for Team USA on that man-up possession.
And we're back to even strength. Getting down the alley, and it's a finish for McKay Hansen. Coming out of Dallas, Texas. Makes it 16-3.
Yeah, and Hansen does a nice job just kind of walking the dog here, putting the stick in one hand, his left.
Premier goal scored by number 2.
You know, and it looks like he's going to roll back to his right. Instead, he continues down the alley. Tough angle at which to finish. Nice job to finish across his body.
So you tick under 10 minutes to go in this fourth quarter. Remember, this US U19 team will also play against Japan tomorrow morning. Game coming up 8:30 Central Time, 9:30 Eastern here on LAC Sports Network. Face-off win, a quick shot there is just wide of Paquette. Coming up next, remember, the U.S. senior national team against Japan. That same Japanese team that's made their way all the way here to San Antonio, Texas, to play a couple of games as part of the spring premiere.
Always a nice job by the Japan Lacrosse Association, getting their players an opportunity to come stateside, come here to the U.S. and play against some of the best the world has to offer.
Got a flag down. In traffic, it's Chris Wong, who's stopped by Paquette, but a man down coming for the United States, as Team Premier will go man up as we get the penalty.
You see a lot in fall ball. Speaking about the Japanese team and some of their more prominent programs over in Japan at the university level, Keio University gets lots of exposure playing against some pretty good Division I college teams in fall ball, and certainly some of those players will be here today competing against Team USA.
Really impressive what the Japanese have done with the sport of lacrosse and how it's grown over there, and it mostly has come at the collegiate university level and beyond, which is really impressive to see. We'll talk more about that in that next game coming up. Skip pass across, shot off the post. U.S. will look to kill off the rest of this penalty. As Jared Paquette got bailed out by his post behind him. Jack Monfort, another one of those Yale short stick defensive midfielders, brings it in. Future of that position for the Bulldogs, pretty good hands when you look at Hackler and Monfort, what we've seen from them today.
Yeah, and that's basically a warehouse there in New Haven, Connecticut, for those short stick defensive midfielders. Again, I can't harp on it too much, how much run those guys get. On a given possession in the international game, a 5-minute possession, they might see 6, 7, 8 dodges as teams rotate it around and try to isolate that short stick matchup. You really need to have some endurance there.
Patrick Cavanaugh skips up top to Grimes. Shot never got through. Ground ball won by Team Premier. But it's taken away. Graham Bundy. Good takeaway, and here we go with some numbers for the United States. Grimes stopped on the doorstep. Man, Wheat is really seeing the ball well today.
He's got to be close to 80% here in this second half. Remarkable.
Really impressive stuff to come on this stage against this talent, perform like he is. Gets it in front of, behind a defense that he doesn't have a lot of continuity with. Here's Kelleher, he scored that goal in the first half. Looks to dance out of some trouble. One of 3 Cornell commits on this Team Premier squad. As that shot is eaten up by Paquette. Rebound is wide, kept alive here by Pilcher.
Paquette brings something a little different than Entenmann in the pipes, in that he's just a little bit more of that sit-back goalie, patience, got good movement, soft hands, plays a pretty flat arc. Yeah, Entenmann a little bit more vocal, a little bit more aggressive inside the crease.
Lavelle tries to push one through. Comes all the way back to Kelleher. Ground ball battle there on the far side. Won by the United States. Mitchell spins, knocked down. That draws a flag. And another man up coming under 4 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the game.
And this time, perhaps an opportunity for Team USA to work for a higher percentage shot out of this man upset.
It's the U.S. with the man-up opportunity here, the second of this fourth quarter.
Team premier penalty on number 21, Tommy Hovivian.
He's got the same personnel out there. O'Neal and Grimes working on this side. Slusher up top as well. Moving into a little rotation here.
Herbert. Now back to Grimes and O'Neal. And we're back to even strength as the penalty's released. The U.S. takes their time here, settling things down. No shots on that man-up opportunity. Lance Tillman dancing at X. Mentioned Tillman as a quarterback option on this under-19 squad. In his high school career, had just about even career goals and assists. As that is finished on the doorstep by Mitchell. Give the assist to Brennan O'Neal. What can't Brennan O'Neal do? And Connor Mitchell has a hat trick.
USA goal scored by number 12, Connor Mitchell. Assisted by number 34, Brennan O'Neal.
What I like about this goal is the U.S. did not settle for a less than great opportunity on that man up. It was a quick one. 30 seconds later, they're even. But what they did was they kept the defense. They never let the defense get settled. They kept them moving, kept them rotating, found the look that they wanted. And it's Mitchell there finishing it from Brennan O'Neal. So good continuity there, transitioning from their man-up offense to their 6-on-6. And again, sometimes what you preach here in the international game is patience on offense and really working it around. Sometimes you go man up and that switch flips and you're inclined to try to rush it. They didn't on that possession. They get the 6-on-6 goal and it's a 14-goal lead.
On the run, that shot high and wide. Picked up by the United States on the rebound. Hackler couldn't see that ground ball, but it's out of bounds off the team premiere. It's game one of 4 here at the U.S. Lacrosse Spring Premiere in San Antonio that will bring you on Lax Sports Network over the next 2 days. Remember, coming up, 3:30 p.m. Central, that's 4:30 Eastern, we'll have the U.S. men's national team against Japan. U.S. men's national team, a big weekend for them as they really begin that process for the 2022 World Championships. Have a lot of new faces in the mix. Some guys had some big summers in professional lacrosse, now getting an opportunity to wear the red, white, and blue and compete against somebody in a different color jersey, which is always something interesting. They'll also have a blue-white scrimmage coming up tomorrow.
And yet some continuity in place for that senior team program with the coaching staff returning intact. That's the first time that's ever happened. And 10 players that played in Israel for that team, and an additional 8 players that were on the wider training team. So those guys are being looked to as the veterans to sort of carry on the traditions and the Team USA way that was established during that last go-around.
Under 40 seconds to go, the United States in practice trying to run out a win here. Graham Bundy Jr. has got a couple of assists. He's the #1 ranked midfielder in the class of 2019, and he runs out the clock for Team USA. An impressive effort for the US U19 team. Hung 12 goals in the first half in this team premiere, walking away with a 17-3 victory as they continue their prep for the World Championships this summer.
Yeah, nice job by the U.S. team today. Lots of different guys getting opportunities. Good reps up and down that depth chart. A blowout win here, yes, 17-3, but they faced some challenges there in the second half, whether it was the goalie play of Team Premier's Robert Wheat, a couple opportunities to work on their man up. So, you know, this team has definitely entered into training mode, and they've moved from evaluation mode to training mode and team building mode, and some good chemistry was developed here today.